All right, good morning. 6:08 a.m. Been in here this morning since 5. And hang on, quick sip. All right, so I wanted to get on here real quick this morning and teach you guys how do I want to call it? I guess we can call it a strategy that I've been teaching inside of my coaching groups for a long time, and it's probably one of the things that served me the greatest in business, and it's particularly important and effective for people that are involved in the network marketing community. I'd say it's it's definitely as effective in traditional sales, but in network marketing, because this is a business where it's not B2B, B2C. So not business to okay, just in case I want to make sure I'm covering myself. So B2B is business to business, B2C is business to customer. So so in networking, you're constantly, we're taught to prospect people that we're connected to, for example, which, honestly, if I was going to start a pizza joint, if I was going to start an insurance agency, if I was going to, I don't know, if I was going to become a real estate agent, if I was going to start any small business, I'd probably reach out to my individual network and say, hey man, I just launched this new restaurant in town. I'd love for you guys to come down and pay it a visit. So I don't know why people get down on people approaching friends that they know about something that they're excited about, a cool product or a new service, or even the business that they're attached to. So one of the things, there's two things in particular, and I'm sure I've taught live on this before, one of the subjects at least, but if I look back at my career as an entrepreneur, which is now 3.5 decades, and someone were to ask me, like, why have you had success year in and year out for so long? I can attribute it to two things primarily. Number one, and this is not the subject, this is not the main subject of today's live, but number one is not letting days pass without doing something that's specifically focused on generating revenue. Meaning, no matter how busy I am, no matter how many videos I have to produce or blog posts I have to create, or whatever, all the activities that are non-productive activities, I always reserve some time for drumming up new business. So that's number one. And when I do so, because of this second point that I'm going to make, and this is really the major point for this morning, because of what I do, when I do those reach outs, there tend to be met with favorability, meaning, or receptivity, maybe a better word. So the exercise is something that I teach I've taught in A-Team, I've taught in small group coaching programs, I've taught in retreats. And it's this concept where you're basically, and it's actually really powerful because it removes the pressure from, because a lot of times people that are struggling with fear and not quite sure of themselves and afraid, for lack of a better term, probably that's the accurate term, they don't reach out. And this particular strategy will make it so easy because it takes all the pressure off of you. You don't have, in fact, here, I'll tell you, take your business right now, put it in the closet, not literally, just take it off of your shoulders, take the weight off of your shoulders, forget for a moment that you have a business, and just be a good human. That's it. So just for just a couple seconds, go over here. You don't have a business. You're just a human being that cares about people. And you genuinely care about people. Okay. So you don't have a business for a second. Now, I want you to, and this is the exercise. It's called the re-engagement exercise. The re-engagement exercise is this, and this is not for like today, just like, okay, Todd, thanks for the live. I'm going to do this re-engagement exercise today once and then never do it again. This should be, if you're in any type of sales or network marketing, this should be like a daily, regular part of your routine, like forever and ever, amen. And so the activity is, and the re-engagement exercise is this, like, we're in a business that's built upon having relationship capital. I've talked about this many, many times, like how people perceive you, how people feel about you, the things that they say about you when you're not around, hopefully good things. So again, and I'm not going to go, I'm thinking about something. I'm not going to go into the depth of that, but the re-engagement exercise is very simple. All you do is you pull out your phone. Okay. Most of you probably have 500 or more contacts in your phone. I think I have like 7,200 phone numbers in my phone. None of us download those phone numbers or upload those phone numbers. They're all individually put in there by you at some point in time. And so you put those people into your phone for some reason. You wanted to remember their phone number and save their phone number and their contact information. And the reality is, most people, if they look at their phone, probably over 80% of the people that are in their contact list, they haven't had any connection with, any contact with for any period of time, for a lengthy period of time. So the exercise is super simple and super powerful. And yet, even though I'm telling you to take the business off of your plate for a moment when you do the exercise, it will actually generate you business. In fact, every time I've done this, I'm not going to say every time, but pretty much every time that I've done this in a group format where I've got 20 to 100 or 200 or more people, and I give them this exercise, like for example, an A team, I'll give this exercise. Then I come back the next week and I'm like, okay, who did the re-engagement exercise? And I start taking, comments from people in the group. And, I'm like, well, tell me what that experience was. And inevitably, those individuals come back and say, oh yeah, in fact, my friend Glenn, who actually had a reconnection, actually I had a re-engagement, just exactly what I'm talking about, like a week and a half ago with Glenn. Glenn comes back, who's like an A teamer that's done like, I don't even know, like 15 A teams. And he's like, yeah, man, I called a guy that I literally haven't talked to in 14 years. And I ended up putting the guy into my business. Now, even though, again, the exercise, and I want to make sure I finish my thought. The exercise, it's 6 a.m., man. You got to bear with me this morning. I woke up at 4:30 or 4:15, and so patience, my friends. Getting up and doing a live this early in the morning is unusual for me. So the re-engagement exercise is this. You go into your address book. I just did this live on Friday in front of a group of people, like, I don't know, 100 plus people down in Sarasota, Florida. And so what you do is you take out your phone. Okay. I mean, unless you're watching me on your phone, you could probably do this right now. So take out your phone and you go to your address book and you go to the letter A, beginning of the alphabet. So I'm all the way at the beginning. Then you start looking at the names. Your brain is good enough to recall probably a lot of those people. I mean, some of the people are like, there's definitely people in my phone. I'm not entirely sure who they are. But I've got notes on them. I'll save that for another live. And then what you do is you start scrolling through your phone without thinking about your business. Like, oh, would this person be a good prospect for my business? Or do I, again, your business is over here for the moment. You have no business. And you look at the person's name and you're like, oh my gosh, how long has it been since I talked to this person? So the objective, and there's no specific timeline here, but the objective is look at the person's name and go, okay, it's been a bit. So what's a bit? Well, I mean, there's flexibility there. It's been 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 14 years in Glenn's case, which is incredible. And then all you do is you open up the contact and you send them a text. This is why I'm saying why it's called a re-engagement exercise. You send them a text. All you do is send them a text and say, hey, Glenn, Todd Falcone, what's up, man? Hope you're well. it's been too long. I'd love to catch up with you. However you communicate. If it was me and it was like one of my bros or somebody that I know from ages ago that, I know I can talk like that with that person, it would be, yo, Glenn, bro, what's up? Falcone checking in. It's been way too long, dude. Let's catch up. When can we catch up? Hope you're well. That's the message. That's it. There's no ulterior motive. There's no, you're going to sneak pitch them when you get them on the phone. And it's not, and just to be clear on this, because I've done this exercise enough times in groups where the exercise is not then Glenn texts you back and says, oh, I'm doing great. Things are well. It's great to hear from you, Falcone. I'm like, oh, that's great, Glenn. What's new? The conversation does not continue on text message. The objective is to take it to an actual, person to person talking, using your lips, using your voice, and having a real life conversation, which honestly, as networkers, you guys should be very, very comfortable having actual conversations with people beyond DMs and text messages and whatever. So now, the reason this exercise is so powerful is because if we go back to like old school network marketing for a second, like way back when, and it's still done to this day. I mean, and it's still highly effective to this day. The whole concept of, okay, somebody gets started in a network marketing business. And like, I remember very, very clearly the first day I walked in and they handed me, and you guys have heard of these, the memory jogger, right? You write, it's there to jog your memory and help you come up with names. I mean, memory joggers were made when we didn't have these things. My memory, I don't need a memory jogger because I got everybody's phone number in here. But the memory jogger was, okay, write down all the people that you can think of. A, the accountant; B, the baker, the banker; C, the, whatever, the D, the dentist, it's there to jog your memory. It comes up with, if you've never seen one, that's what it is. And now the problem with that is, you're sitting here writing down all these people that, that is jogging your memory. And many of those people that end up on someone's list, they haven't talked to in years. And I was, for some reason, the name, that anytime I go into this subject matter, my buddy from like second grade, his name always pops in my head. Like every time I use the same example, Bart Scott. And Bart was a dude that I met in like Mrs. Johnson's class in second grade. That's been a long time. And Bart and I were buddies in elementary school and junior high and high school. We fished a bunch together. We played sports together. We hung out. I haven't seen Bart physically since 1984. Can you imagine if I picked up the phone today and reached out to Bart to say, hey, Bart, Todd Falcone, man, I got this cool business I'm doing. That's not going to be met with receptivity. That's what I'm talking about here. The purpose of this exercise it's like a plant. I know it's talked, and I've used this analogy many times. I mean, relationships are like plants. They need to be watered, fertilized, tended to in order to bear fruit. And so if you're blindly reaching out to somebody to introduce them to your new product, your business, and it's been years since you've talked to them, or it's been a long time and there's been no connection whatsoever, you don't need to be besties or BFs. What is it? BFFs. But I mean, at least maintaining some degree of contact with whoever it is that you're reaching out to, you're going to be met with far more, openness if and when you do reach out to them. And here's the thing. This is what I said at the beginning. Like when I do this exercise, even though the objective is not to pitch them your business, that's not the objective. The objective is just to be real and human and cool, and to just say, hey man, dude, what's up? It's been way too long. I mean, I know you're living over here and I'm living there, whatever, and we don't get to see each other as much, but how's life? What's happening? And legitimately catch up and be, as I say, and I didn't make this up. I mean, this comes out of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Be genuinely interested, not interesting, be listening. And ultimately what's likely going to happen is they're going to ask you, like, if I'm like, what's going on, man? I haven't talked to you in ages. Where are you living now? I mean, are you married? Do you have kids? Like, let's say it was Bart. I mean, I've, in my example with Bart, I have maintained connection with him. So I know he's been remarried. He's got kids. He's still living up in Washington State. There's things that I know because we have maintained contact. Then likely, not, it's not a guarantee, but likely that person will respond in kind, and they will start asking, like, what's up with you, Falcone? I'm like, dude, I mean, a lot. I got 2 kids. Both of them are about ready to go off to college. I've moved a few times. I lived in California, I lived in Scottsdale, and been to Oregon now. Life is good. Haven't had a job in 3.5 decades, and skiing as much as I can, still fishing a ton. And the way, I can say that because that's true. But if I said that to Bart and he's going to go, whoa, what do you mean you haven't had a job in 3.5 decades? There's a possibility that by me just saying that, he's going to go back and go, what are you doing? I didn't sneak that in there so he could, so then we could go on the subject. Well, now that you asked, let me get into it. But the way this works is like, and what's the book? Hang on a second. It's early. Hold on a second. Okay. Yeah. There's a great book that you guys should absolutely read. It's called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert. I don't know how you spell. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. It's Cialdini. It's Cialdini. That's a fantastic book, I think, for anybody in the network marketing space to read. And there's different laws in there. There's the law of, I think that's the law of reciprocation, where when you do something for someone, they feel an obligation to respond in kind. So if I asked you questions and genuinely listened to you and was really attentive, generally speaking, they feel an again, this is not a guarantee. Most people do this. They're going to ask you questions. Now, again, this isn't just like an open opportunity for you to pitch your deal. This is you just being a real human. That's why your business is over here for the moment. It's over here. It's hanging out. And, granted, and so all I'm doing is I'm making a deposit. I'm watering the plant. And so if now Bart may say, well, wait a minute, hold on. What are you talking about? You haven't had a job in 3.5 decades. What are you doing? I mean, it's still not, I still wouldn't just, oh, really? Now that you asked, I mean, I'm looking for somebody just like you. I'm not going to pull that crap. It would be, I've been self-employed. I've been working at home for, since literally right out of college. Been in the network marketing profession. I now speak and teach and train network marketing for a living. So it's allowed me to be at home with the kids. It's been amazing. I mean, you would obviously say something different than that, and then you move on to the next subject. And then, now the thing is, like, at a later time, you could be thinking like, okay, now that you've refreshed that relationship, you've caught up. It's like, it hasn't been 35. I don't even know, 1984 to 2024. I mean, it's been forever. Like, it's been, I'm not going to try to do the math right now. It's too early. So don't ask me to do the math. If I were to reach out to him in the future, that's going to be met with far more receptivity than if I, just out of the blue called him. And so one of the things that I do, and I will be doing today, because I do it virtually every day, is I reach out to my network, people in my phone. So the re-engagement exercise is simple. Go to the address book in your phone, start at the letter A. And it's crazy. Like, I mean, even this weekend, or it was technically Friday, I'm like, okay, I'm walking around the room while I'm doing this exercise. And there's people in the room. So I talked to a couple of people afterwards, and they're like, yeah, it was like literally the first person in my address book. So don't be surprised if you look at the very first person in your address book with the letter A, and you're like, okay, I haven't talked to that guy in 10 years. And just, again, no pressure, because a lot of times people are like, oh, here's what most networkers do. And when I mean most, like way over 50%. They'll sit there and they'll look at they'll go in there and they're like, okay, I'm ready to build my business. And I want to, I definitely got contacts, people that I'd love to bring this to. And they look at Scott, who's my first guy on my phone. And they go, oh, well, I don't know if he's going to be receptive, or, yeah. And they've got the burden, the weight on their shoulders of this thing, and then that their fear takes over, and they don't even reach out, and then they go straight to like cold market, which nothing wrong with cold market. I've done a lot of cold market prospecting over the years, but here they've got somebody that they have a relationship with, that they have some connection with, that they already know them. They already have some, I mean, not everybody in your phone is like obviously your best friend. It could be, the guy that, did your yard work for a couple of years, or I don't know, installed cabinetry in your house or something. I don't know. And then, oh, by the way, since I know this is going to come up, and I'm going to address it real quick because this always comes up, even though I'm not really taking questions. What's up, Blakely? I'm doing this on StreamYard, so I don't see all the comments. So what happens when you look at a person and their name is Andy and there's no last name, and you're like, no clue. I don't have a clue who that is. Like, it just says Andy and there's a phone number. That doesn't mean that you can't reach out to that person, and I'll tell you exactly what to do. It's not hard. Hey, Andy, this is Todd Falcone. I have your name in my phone, and it just says Andy. I'm not even entirely sure which Andy this is. Do you remember me or know me, or how do we meet? Who are you? I mean, something like that. And then they're going to respond. Whoa. Thought I had that's my alarm. I guess I'm supposed to get up now. That was 3 hours ago. So then, and then I'm going to teach you one more lesson since I'm on the subject. So you can easily send that text. And I also, like, honestly, if you're going to make, if you're going to make network marketing a career, like a legitimate career, or even if you're not going to, I don't care. Like, even if you're like, if you're going to make some type of selling occupation, whether it's in network marketing or anywhere else for that matter, that's like what you're going to do. Because I don't want to make the assumption everybody's like committed to life to be in network marketing, but you're going to be in some kind of performance-based business, which is a pretty good thing. Then you should manage your connections in a better way. Meaning you shouldn't have some dude named Andy in your phone without a last name. There should not be some guy named Andy without a last name, and you're clueless as to who that person is. So how do you prevent that in the future? The way you prevent it in the future is from this point forward. And I've trained on this. I don't know if I've gone live about this. I've done so many lives. I have no idea. Worth repeating nonetheless. When you add a person to your phone, you put, ideally their first, their last name, their phone number, and then other important information. Where you met, how you met, I don't know, where they're from, whatever you want to remember. So as most of you guys know that have followed me for a while, I got notes on pretty much every single person in my phone. Because I do not add nobody ever to my phone without adding notes to them. And if you're using an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy, in your contacts, there's a space specifically for notes. So if I had my initial contact with you today, whatever today, I guess today is the 21st because yesterday was inauguration day. So I would, if I'm adding you or sharing contact information, I would put 12125 met in Sarasota, Florida at network marketing event from Chicago, whatever been in the business for 2 years, whatever the things that I wanted to remember in the future, because as soon as they go in there, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And nobody's brain, and I'm not insulting you, by the way, nobody's brain is good enough to remember. Even the smartest people, if they got 3,000 people in their phone or 500 people in their phone, they're not going to remember every single thing about every person in there. So what I'm doing is I'm adding notes for, whatever I think is important. Like, where did you go to college? Where did you grow up? What's your spouse's name? If I knew your birthday, I'd throw your birthday in there. Whatever I want to remember. It proves that you care more. It shows that you care more. And, and this whole re-engagement exercise is foundational in building up what I call relationship capital. Relationship capital. So, I mean, I'll give you a challenge. You can do it or not. It's up to you. But I would say you look at your phone. I mean, I'm sure you guys look at your phone every day, probably, right? So next time you look at your phone, maybe reserve 10 minutes a day and just scroll through and go, oh, haven't talked to that person in a while. Yo, Janet, what's up? Todd Falcone, been a bit. How's it going? Love to catch up with you. How's life? And again, clearly, I want to be clear on this. It's not a text back and forth. The text is the stepping stone into a conversation. Like, I'm literally in 24 minutes going to have a conversation with a buddy of mine to catch up. So I guess some of you might be asking, well, why? Well, if you're if you're in sales, if you're in network marketing, and you're in a business that's based on performance and the movement of something, the transaction, so some type of transaction that takes place between you and another person, individuals are far more likely to be inclined to do business with you because you're not perceiving them. They don't feel like you perceive them as somebody who has a dollar sign tattooed to their forehead. Like, what can I get from you? And interestingly enough, and this is a common fear amongst network marketers, very common fear, is people don't want to be perceived as using their friends or family or business acquaintances to make money. It's like, oh, I don't want to use my friends to make money. It's like, I get that. Nobody wants to use, hopefully don't. Hopefully nobody is trying to use somebody for their personal gain and the other individual's loss. You should always be thinking like the 7 habits of highly effective people. Think win-win. If it's win-lose, you don't do it. And so, I don't know, it's just a super powerful exercise. I did a video series this last month. You guys are welcome to have it if you want. I just changed my link tree, so it's on my link tree if you want to go get it. It's I don't know how many videos I did. I think it's 7 videos on the art of building relationship capital. I produced this series because I did a training at Ray Higdon's Faith Over Fear event, and I spoke for about 20 minutes on the subject. But it honestly, for me to teach it the way I wanted to teach it, it required far more time than that. So I made this video series, and I'm not charging for it. You guys can have it for free. And it's called The Art of Building Relationship Capital. It's on my link tree, which is toddfalcone.com/links, LINKS, and you'll see it. It's not hard to find. So if you want that, you're welcome to have it. Nonetheless, great habit to be in. I mean, every day get up and like, who can I connect with that I haven't connected with in a bit? I can guarantee you it's going to be advantageous in your business. Plus, it's just kind of cool to be cool and stay connected with people. And I don't know, I think it kind of fills your soul a little bit when you're like reconnecting with people you haven't, you're staying engaged. So there, and then if in the future you choose to reach out to somebody for whatever, if you choose to reach out and say, look, man, I'm doing this and I'd love to show you what I'm up to, I promise you that message is going to be met with more receptivity. And I mean, honestly, and I'm going to use the word, it's kind of creepy to reach out to somebody that you haven't talked to in 10 years to pitch them your business out of the blue. It's a little weird. It's a little weird. Like, bro, we haven't talked in like 10 years, and the first thing you're going to do is pitch me a business. So if you don't want to be that guy or girl, then do what I'm sharing with you. And again, this isn't, you don't have to end up like, I would say a great majority are not people that I hang out with all the time. I mean, like it could be friends that I went to college with, or people that live near me up in, when I was in Seattle or in Scottsdale or wherever, wherever I've been, or people that I've met in business, and they live across the country or in another country. So you don't have this commitment that all of a sudden you got to be calling them all the time or be, hanging out with them all the time. I mean, so it's not like they're all my BFFs. They're just people that I've done business or want to do business with in the future and that I genuinely like. I mean, I wouldn't even put you in my phone if I didn't want to have some kind of connection with you in the future. So you're more or less just like keeping things fresh. Because again, if you go back and you talk, you go try to get somebody into your business or sell them something and you haven't talked to in years, I'm not going to tell you it's going to be bad, but the odds are against you, and the odds are way more in your favor if you do what I share with you. And people love it, man. They do. They'll, I mean, like I don't even know who's catching this, but I mean, some of the people probably on this live are individuals that I do this with. I'll reach out to people and it's a lot of people like are mind blown by the fact that I just reach out with no expectation whatsoever. I mean, I'll give you one quick example and then I'll wrap this up. So I got a really good friend of mine who has been in network marketing for like 40 something years. Probably the single greatest female income earner in the history of network marketing in terms of cumulative earnings. And when we first met and got to know each other, I had done a training for her group. And, but we weren't like super tight. We weren't like close friends, never really hung out. I just, she liked what I did for her group and what I was doing from a training perspective. And so I did a training for her. Hey, Mary, how's it going? And if there's comments, and this is on StreamYard, so I don't see all the comments. So I don't know if you guys are chatting. I'll check the comments afterwards. So, I'd done maybe one or two at the time. I'm dating myself conference calls. This is probably before Zoom. And I reached out to her one time. I was just doing what I'm teaching you right now. And I reached out to her and I was like, hey, Donna, what's up? And how's it going? And I'm like, what are you and Thomas up to? Like, we're just having a conversation. That's it. And we're like, 15 minutes, the conversation's kind of nearing its end. And she's like, well, did you need anything? And I was like, no, I was just calling to say, what's up? See how you guys were doing, see what's going on. And she's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, so I think she almost thought like I may have been calling, hey, get me scheduled on, I'd love to, let's put our calendars together and see if you can get me booked on another training, which that was not the reason that I was calling. It was legitimately just to stay connected. Now, would she be more or less likely to have me come and do a training for her group if I had made the effort to stay in contact versus not? What do you think? In fact, I just did a training for her group, like, I don't know, 2 months ago. So again, I'm not saying that these people need to be your BFFs, and they most likely won't be unless they are. I mean, the truth is, like, how many like super, super close friends do you have? We have a lot of people that we probably stay connected with and that we genuinely like, and, we enjoy being around them when we're with them. But like friends that you're hanging out with are likely, honestly, they're probably in your neighborhood or they're within a pretty close driving distance. Like, it's kind of interesting with that. Like okay, I'll give you an example. So when Carla and I moved to Scottsdale 13 years ago, we, within a matter of like a couple months, we connected with a group of people, and they were all literally in our neighborhood. They were all like parents our age. Actually, most of them are a few years younger than Carla and I. They all had kids approximately the same age. And we all were super tight. We had the coolest crew. And there was like, I don't know, probably in total 15 couples. And we would have barbecues and parties at different houses and whatever. And I mean, like, super close, super, super close group of friends. And when you move, like a lot of people might think, oh, you know, I was in contact with those people all the time, like regularly, like weekly, and hanging out probably almost every week at some point. And you think when you move, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to stay in close contact. Well, with most of those people, which I mean, I still love them to death, we don't stay in regular close contact. It just, you know, it's just not as convenient. So the people that you end up probably being closest to are, you know, a small half a handful of friends that you've known for years and years and years that you'll just always be friends, or, you know, people that are in closer proximity to you. So like, I can tell you that and if it wasn't, I'll also say this, if it wasn't for me in some of these instances, the relationship would go completely dry. Because what I'm telling you, this re-engagement exercise, it takes a little bit of effort. It's not a lot of effort. It's not hard at all, but it takes initiative. And so, like, I grew up in Seattle most of my life, and the friends that I have in Seattle, I'm trying to think if any of them actually initiate contact with me. No, not really. My friends from Long Beach State, mostly not. Couple. Friends from different places that I've lived, Monterey, Scottsdale. If I didn't take the initiative to send a text, make a call, I probably wouldn't communicate with over 90% of those people at all. So the ball's kind of in your court there. Like, it's the relationship, the plant is not going to water itself. You can't expect the other person, to just sit there and water itself. So you're going to be the person that reaches out just to, you know, be cool and stay connected. And because of you adopting this habit, you're way more likely to be met with, you know, a favorable response if you choose to approach them about anything that you might be involved with. So, all right. I hope you got something out of this morning. I am going to get ready for this next Zoom. And yeah, if you want this video series, I mean, you can either DM me if you want, I suppose, or if your mind is ready this early in the morning, it's toddfalcone.com/links, LINKS. And you can grab it. I'm pretty sure on my link tree, it says the art of relationship capital. It's pretty clear. I mean, there's a bunch of things on that page, but you'll figure it out. All right. Okay. And then I'll go check out the comments if there are any. So I see Robert and Mary on my StreamYard, but yeah, guys. All right. Have a good Tuesday. We'll see you.